Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Memes of the Week. The best thing you can do for this channel is smash the like button the way that female high school teachers smash their students, so this video reaches a wider audience. And now on with the memes. Number one, around the time when gold pumped to $4,400, this article was published about geologists discovering the world's largest gold mine. This is extremely positive news and propaganda at the top of the bull market, to make people FOMO in at the top. Meanwhile, this discovery happened years ago. It was brought back to headlines to get people hyped. Never chase an asset like gold, stocks, or Bitcoin when they've already had a massive run-up. You're almost always guaranteed to lose money. Wait until it's cheaper and no one wants it. Up next, here's female privilege in action. This woman was sentenced to 15 years for trafficking minors as their pimp, but will only be serving 6 years. If this was a man, he'd be in jail for decades. It's not only about female privilege, but it's also black privilege as well. If I was a male pimp, I'd be hiring a woman like this to be my front madam, because I know she'd be going away for a lot less time for doing so. But knowing women, they can't take accountability, so she'd probably rat me out. Number three, and speaking of gold, people are saying the price is rising in part because of the debasement trade, and that the US dollar is going to collapse. And they point to China buying up all the gold. To get people to buy something that's overpriced and about to crash, you need to spin a positive narrative. How do you know that China isn't just making these numbers up while buying long paper contracts to profit off the news? Be careful of market manipulation. Moving on, the Nintendo Entertainment System came out 40 years ago in America, and I still have one. I found one complete on the side of the road in a box about 15 years ago. It still even has the Toys R Us price sticker logo on it. Unfortunately, it's one with the orange zapper. The first game I ever got from mine in the 80s was Legend of Zelda. And back then you had to explore to find all the secrets. Today you can just look up where to find everything on the internet. Number five, here's someone attacking the idea that iPhones could be manufactured in America, saying that it would cost 30 grand to make one. This is crazy town and hasn't Newswire ever heard of automation and humanoid robots eventually making them. But the leftists won't like communist China losing money and no workers being paid to make them in America. Also, if iPhones are too expensive to be made locally, then people will just go and fly out to other countries to get their Samsungs and other phones. Up next, don't you wish that you could actually trust your governments as much as she trusts this dress not to have a wardrobe malfunction? Although I don't know about you, but I wouldn't mind. This is either AI or that dress is most likely steel reinforced. Then again, I wouldn't be surprised if it's glued on and she just cheats like the governments. I also know I'm not supposed to like big knockers like that, especially when they get older. But I can't help myself but only be attracted to women with at least C cups. Number seven, they say that giving birth is considered the second most painful human experience. My guess is that the most painful is getting married for a man. While that sounds funny and it is painful, according to women who have given birth and had kidney stones, they say the kidney stones are the worst. I've had kidney stones and there's nothing like screaming in pain in a hospital while people are looking at you like you're crazy. The only thing more painful was having a catheter pulled out of my swing. Moving on, great news from China where they changed the laws to make sure that the wife doesn't get any of the husband's property after a divorce. And they will share custody of kids too. No more divorce grape in China. Turd-flinging monkey seems to think that China will be the first country to take women's rights away, probably due to falling fertility rates. If they do and get their fertility rates up, then the rest of the world might have to follow their lead. Number nine, meanwhile in the United States, the White House sounds the alarm bells over U.S. fertility rates. But nothing will happen except the rates will keep falling. Instead of taking women's rights away, we just need to develop artificial wombs and robot nannies. Eventually women will have less kids than men, and men will outnumber them 10 to 1. In the future, having a kid will no longer be something associated with love, but it'll be more about logic. Up next, which way young PhD men? I choose the one on the right, just without the tattoos. But then again, when I saw full body shots of her, she kind of looked flabby and bottom heavy. So maybe the girl on the left would be a better choice after all. She just needs to move that book out of the way so I can see something. Again, you just know that this so-called Dino Mommy will probably start an OF page to cash in all the free attention that she's been receiving lately. Number 11, here's the difference between men's and women's cycles. Men have a 24-hour cycle with high testosterone in the morning, hence the morning wood, and then declines into night for sleep and rest. For women, they get 2 good weeks followed by a week of PMS where they need their space. And then they bleed for a week and their body wipes them out. Then they do it all over again. For men, it's Groundhog Day every day, but what is it for women? Moving on, Richard Cooper shares this single mom life cycle. First, she finds an alpha to impregnate her and then gets dumped. Then she posts about how she's keeping the kid and doesn't need no man to help her raise it. Then she has the kid and gets government support. Finally, she seeks out a beta to raise Chad Roan's baby and be a cuck. Then she dumps the beta and repeats the whole process all over again, and then finally blames all men. Remember, guys, then men are always to blame. Number 13, I think we all know by now that you can tell if a woman has a high body count from that dead inside look in her eyes. The more important question is, why does this happen? Is it from all the crying after becoming an alpha widow? Is it because every time she does it with a man, she loses a little bit of her soul by giving up her whole? And if you date a woman like this with the 1,000 schlong stare, she's also going to drain you and make you jaded too. Up next, someone, I presume a woman, says that men are such fragile beings. Someone gets back to her and says, wait until you see how fragile women are. And then they reply with incel detected. Women love to dish it out, but they can't take it for some reason. This is basically confirmation as to how sensitive they really are. Women always come up with the canned insults and responses. Usually very little wit or insight goes into their comebacks. I don't mind being insulted, just make it entertaining, ladies. Number 15 in Canada, Sikhs are getting away with a ton of crime. Why is this happening? Could this have something to do with it? Maybe we need to change the policy to make it so that you can only be a police officer if you were actually born in the country. This might also be why Canada has a major drug problem, because our Royal Canadian Mounted Police are compromised in every office and every port, as well as the trucking industry giving out licenses to unqualified Jeets. Moving on, this woman says to stand up against fascism. She's a real inspiration for all of us, because she's even able to stand. How about instead of standing up against fascism, she stands up against McDonald's? Also, for her sake, I hope she keeps standing, because she needs to get up at least 1,000 times a day to make any difference. What she's really fighting is gravity, and what she should really also be fighting against is fatism. Number 17, looks like Canada is becoming more like South Africa by the day. They're now expropriating people's homes in Western Canada because they happen to be built on native lands, and they're doing it without any compensation. All because some native Canadians might have gone fishing there 150 years ago. The foundation of property rights is now crumbling in Canada. And if you think that this will stop in Richmond, BC, then you're crazy. Up next, to boost fertility rates in Poland, the president signs off on a new zero income tax law for parents with 2 children. It's a good idea, but unfortunately I doubt it's going to work to boost Poland's fertility rate all that much. It's not only about the cost of having kids. More importantly, people aren't having children because life is too easy, and in the past, before social programs, kids were your retirement plan. Now they're a financial and dopamine burden. They prevent you from scrolling through TikTok. Number 19, people say that the 1990s were the last great decade before everything went downhill. Things were decent up until about 2005 to 2010, with the financial crisis and culture turning to crap with comic book movies and remakes. The early 2000s still had some originality, but I bet that most of those projects were actually greenlit back in the late 90s. The 90s also happened to be the last decade where most people didn't use the internet. Moving on, looks like it's time to take the Disney dog pill. Belle didn't know that the Beast was going to turn human, and she was still prepared to smash him as is. And she was probably disappointed that he turned back. Knowing women, she'd probably want to be with both the Chad and the Beast because they can make up their minds. Look at one of the top-selling romance novels for women. They prefer a half-man, half-moo man. I'm surprised more women aren't furries. Number 21, you have the choice of destroying all corn with this trolley or 1 million people dying. Sorry everyone, but the million people have to perish because the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Then again, sure, destroy all the corn out there. We can always make more of it. Also, what's with the tradcucks thinking that they're saving civilization by banning it? Women don't depend on men for financial means anymore, and corn lets us avoid relying on women for sexual release. Up next, Jessica Simpson is now chasing younger men after splitting up with her husband. Why do women start looking so unattractive around the age of 40? I think it's nature's way of telling you that she's almost out of eggs and not to waste your time or seed. As for Simpson, I suspect she's trying to steal some of the life force from young guys to stay young, and it never works out. Women have a hard time accepting they are older. At least she's not crazy like Britney Spears. Number 23, what happens when your life sucks? You build a time machine so you can go back and fix it. Funny enough, I've had warnings in my dreams 3 times about the women I was with, and I dumped them because of those. You don't need a time machine to change the future. All you need to do is see the future with precognitive dreaming. Philip K. Dick, the science fiction author, is the only other person I've heard of having the same or similar experiences to me. Moving on, New York mayoral hopeful Zoran Mamdani says that the NYPD shouldn't respond to domestic violence charges. So he's either going to take women's rights away or he's imposing Sharia law. But truthfully, women are just as violent as men are. That means there'll be a lot of guys out there suffering from battered husband syndrome too. Socialists in New York are dumb. They think they're voting for a lefty but could be voting for a radical. Number 25 and the last one, Kendall Jenner, somehow tricked all of us into making us believe that she's the natural looking one in the family. Makes you wonder how much the lip, nose, cheek, and other surgeries have actually cost her. Getting all that fat sucked out of her face makes her look like a trans woman. I can understand the smaller nose and bigger lips. Hell, she even looks like she got a smaller jaw, but I can't forgive her for the lack of facial fats. So that's it for another Memes of the Week. Please give this video a like to push it up in the algorithm, and so new viewers can find it. If you enjoy this series and want me to keep making it, then donate it to PayPal and Subscribe Star links. Anyways, enjoy the rest of your day, and cheers.